If you've played BeamNG before, you're given a pretty decent array of options for what you can play. If you play the game, chances are you'll primarily do free roam, and if you have the BMP mod, maybe some multiplayer too.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
He's
the
driving
people in the
drunk.
back of the bus, okay? Oh no!
Perhaps you've even seen the repository to get some new mods, and maybe you've even tried your hand at some of the challenges called scenarios. But if you haven't noticed by now, BeamNG offers more to do with their game than just free roam, the repository, and scenarios. However, with these 4 game modes we're looking at, people, or at the very least, I have forgotten about these game modes entirely, and they're generally never shown in most BeamNG videos, and rather irrelevant. Hey, wait a minute, it's just like my channel. So I've decided that it would be cool to check out some of these, starting with, I think the name bus routes explains just about everything with this game mode. You're a bus driver with a route to follow. You've got to stop at each stop, kneel the bus, open the door, let the passengers in, close the door, raise the bus, then repeat. The menu gives you options on what map to drive on, what bus to use, which if you're playing modless, you get 6 variants of one bus essentially, the route you take. Now I'm not sure if this is actually irrelevant, but considering the fact that I've seen just about nobody actually play this and no content made about it on YouTube, I'm just going to consider this forgotten. Anyway, this game mode's gameplay is a lot slower paced than most other BeamNG game modes, and to be fair, it's not like this is the Fast and the Furious, it's a bus simulator. Anyway, my only real complaint is that vanilla BeamNG, you don't have many options for the bus, and hopefully that might change in the future if they add any more buses, revamp the Wentworth, maybe give you some more options, and that's about it. Yeah, it's a garage, alright. On the surface, this game mode doesn't seem like much, and that's because it isn't much. You can customize the car just like in free roam, mess around with the garage's lighting, do whatever with the car's electronic systems, or even mess around with the camera angles. However, the main thing that sets this apart from free roam is the lack of ability to drive the car. Oh, and you can also make custom skins, I guess. You're given a couple options on how to decorate your car, like with decals, and it's kind of limited, but then again, the game warns you about it being an early feature or whatever, and considering the fact that it isn't really broken or that it didn't destroy my PC, it's all good. Plus, I like the ability to customize my shit. How do you actually apply these in game? I'm not sure, nor do I care to learn that much. I'm sure there's another tutorial out there that's got you covered on that. Anyways, once you decided that your ride has been pimped out enough, you can take your car out for a test drive. Now, when they revamped the garage mode and brought it back, the game took you to a map based off Texas, but for reasons they changed that. So now you spawn in Grid V2 or something like that. Campaigns are essentially longer and connected scenarios, but the game currently offers 3 of them for you to play. Ranked from easiest to hardest according to this game is Senseless Destruction, A Rocky Start, and Hustle and Bustle. Completing each of these awards you a Steam achievement. Now unfortunately with campaigns, they don't save, so if you complete 1 or more scenarios within the campaign, it doesn't matter how far you get in the campaign, the moment you exit the campaign, you have to start from the beginning and do it all over again. And this is probably why the devs and the greater modding community have tended to favor making new scenarios rather than campaigns, leaving them to be, in my opinion, forgotten, at least by the devs. The newest official campaign is Hustle and Bustle, which according to the game came out in July 2018. I'm writing this script in 2024, meaning that later this year, it will have been over 6 years since the last official campaign has been added, which is just a crazy thought to think about. Now let's get into the actual campaigns themselves, starting with Senseless Destruction. As the name implies, this campaign has you participating in multiple scenarios where you either destroy things or things just get destroyed. Now what makes the campaigns interesting, what the fuck, why did I say it like that, is that all 3 of them have a feature that we just generally don't see in BeamNG. In Senseless Destruction's case, it's basically just this text showing you what to do. But for some reason, this is the only time I've seen this floating text ever used in the game. and it all makes me curious if there's just any way to use this in custom scenarios. Just a thought. I don't know how to make scenarios. Anyway, all the scenarios in the campaign are pretty easy, and they all take place on the Utah map. You shoot cannons, push cars off cliffs, make ramp jumps, run into walls. One of these scenarios has you cross a really flimsy bridge across a massive cliff. In another one, you drag race a muscle car, and when you're getting destroyed, it just randomly blows up. All of these scenarios are loosely connected under one theme: destruction, which I'm assuming is a way of the devs showing off the game's ability to accurately simulate car crashes. The next campaign I'm looking at is Hustle and Bustle, apparently the hardest of the 3 campaigns, being the only one ranked very hard. And the reason for that might be its first scenario. Now, this seems like any bus route situation. You're a bus driver taking people to their next stop, but by a couple checkpoints it's revealed that there's a bomb attached to the bus. If you go less than 34 miles per hour for more than 10 seconds, the bomb explodes. Now, I'm assuming this was inspired by the 1994 movie Speed, where a bomb is attached to the bus. If the bus goes below 50 miles per hour, it also explodes. Now, this little scenario is one of the most brutal ones that take place in West Coast USA, in my opinion. You've got to make some really tight turns while trying to still maintain a speed of 34 miles per hour. And this is made worse by the fact that you're driving a bus, which is heavy, big, and not very aerodynamic. And on top of that, the center of gravity is really high up. Throughout the journey, you've got to make like 4 tight turns that could easily put you out of 34 miles per hour if you don't perform them correctly. You make the first 2 here, then go off to the expressway where there's a truck. You drive adjacent to the truck and unload the passengers before driving off towards a safe location where there's nobody, bail out, and then the bus explodes and you save the day. Now, while writing this script, I actually became curious of if the routes had changed, so I drove the bus to Spearleaf Island, which didn't exist when this scenario was created, and I ended up disposing of the bus in a way safer location than the one BeamNG tells me to go. Yet, it still fails you. Failed to get it into a safe location, my ass. For taking this way, which is easier to pull off and leaves the bus in a safer location than the dock. I'm just saying, if it's in the water, it's not posing a threat to anybody except like maybe Bikini Bottom. Although, to be fair, these wouldn't really be considered forgotten if the devs just remember to update the scenario accordingly and, add that as a way. Anyway, all the scenarios afterwards consist of you being hired by a film crew to perform stunts in a bus for a movie. You follow the film crew, do stunts, then do this massive rocket ramp jump, which I don't even know if that'd be legal, but I guess the people wondering about the legality of all this are just some negative Nancy's looking to complain. Anyway, the third campaign I'll cover is a rocky start. And this one's interesting because there are cutscenes and they look like ass, if I'm being honest. Look, whoever drew this shit, no offense, but it's been almost 8 years since this came out. I'm sure that's more than enough time to improve, but this shit looks awful. Seriously, I feel like I'm looking at a badly animated Sunny V2 thumbnail. Not to mention, you can't fucking skip the cutscenes, and they play whenever you reset a mission. So you've got to see those ugly ass animations all over again per reset. Now, how are the actual scenarios? They're alright, nothing special. Got some rallying scenarios, some challenge scenarios, some work scenarios. It's not really much. You just drive up to a location and do the thing. Now, while recording this, my game kind of just crashed, but I have completed these, as you can see by my full badge drip. And once you finish all these scenarios, you're essentially put into free roam. If I had to assume, it's basically a watered down earlier version of career mode, and there's only one other campaign I didn't mention. That's driving school. However, this isn't on the menu for campaigns anymore, and the reason for this was because it was converted from a campaign to a scenario. And now you win the beginner's racing license badge by essentially driving up to a spot, parking there, and yeah, that's it. Campaigns are interesting because they all have at least one feature in them that is used once and it's just never seen again, whether it be the text and senseless destruction, the bomb and hustle and bustle, or the really ugly cutscenes in a rocky start. Now these two game modes I've decided to bunch up into one group. These two are the Light Runner game mode and the Track Builder game mode. Now while making this video, I found out that Muye already did a video on these two game modes a year ago. But if you've seen that video, you probably know a good chunk of what I'm going to say for these. But if you haven't seen that video, please stay. I need the watch time. Or don't, it's honestly up to you. But anyway, Muye aside, I'm going to start off with Light Runner mode. Light Runner mode is interesting because it all does, yet doesn't take place on the same map. It's essentially time trials, but you're only able to use 3 ugly vehicles, and you drive through any selected track. Now I'm going to elaborate further on the statement of it both does and doesn't take place on the same map. You see, it's all on one map, but you can't use that map for free mode. And that's Glow City, a map with Tron-like tall, funky, glowing skyscrapers. Glow City is also interesting because of the aspect that it has its own background music, which can best be described as store brand Daft Punk. Yet you can select multiple tracks in Light Runner and none of them are the same. Also, a lot of these tracks are rather unusual and not something you find in, say, West Coast USA or Italy. So I actually kind of fuck with the uniqueness of the weird cyberpunk Tron type of city. However, the reason why this new game mode was introduced was for the at the time revamped Track Builder mode. Track Builder mode's default theme is Glow City, which makes sense when you consider there's no actual roads in Glow City. It's essentially just a flat floor with some buildings sticking out of it. Track Builder is honestly pretty fun to play with when you get the hang of it, and you can make some rather unusual tracks and stunts that you generally don't get to try out of BeamNG, in vanilla of course. However, this idea hasn't been explored since 2018, once again, nearly 6 years ago. But I hope the devs revive this idea at some point because it's a rather unique and fun one. And that'll conclude my video. Originally, I was just going to go over the BeamNG scenarios, but that's a bit too big of a video for me to do right now. I started making videos in June 2023, and I'm slowly learning more and more of what works and what doesn't. Then I was going to just go over the campaigns, but I felt that was a little too small. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video because it's the hardest I worked on one. Anyway, that's all the time I have for this video. Peace.